The next topic is top lines. And by top line, I mean the horse's outline, the horse's frame. There's different terms for that. And there's 4 different top lines. The one I want to talk about right now, which is not doing. Oh, there, that's better. The one that we often see, and I'm going to exaggerate a bit, is a horse with a high head and a hollow back. We call that inverted, upside down. It's a very natural top line for a horse, but it's the one top line we don't want to work when working with them. The reason for that is, right now, a horse in this frame of body, we talk about frame of body, frame of mind, is not focusing on what we're trying to teach him. It's worried about survival. Their brain is filled with adrenaline. They're focused on taking off if needed. So as their head comes up and their back drops, their spine compresses, and physiologically what happens, in a nutshell, is it sends adrenaline into their brain. So they're on fight or flight, high alert. And as you probably know, it's hard to teach a kid that's scared. Same with a horse. So we don't want high-headed horses when working with them on the ground and riding them, but sadly it's the one frame you see a lot. So these high-headed horses we gotta bring down to level. This will be a level-headed horse, so the pole and the wither are on the same at the same height. That's level-headed, which is also neutral. So there's no adrenaline flowing. The next frame would be a low-headed horse, where the pole is lower than the horse's withers. What happens now, their back can actually lift, and the vertebrae opens up. Now, the opposite is happening. It sends endorphins into the brain. And endorphins are a natural calming drug. So horses that are chronically inverted, we got to bring down to what we call low and low, stretching down so everything opens up. You sometimes see horses self-medicating themselves. Let's say it's a really cold, windy day, and they're standing with their butt into the wind, because that's their biggest muscle, right? Butt muscles. But their heads are down. They're actually coping. So they're releasing endorphins into their brain to help them deal with the extreme weather. And you sometimes see too with horses in training, they go into that shutdown mode and they're really low-headed and they're just coping with whatever's thrown at them that they have a hard time dealing with. And that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
So the problem with training when you have a very low-headed horse that they're not very athletic. They're often on the forehand. They have too much weight on the front end. So anytime we want to do anything more athletic with the horse, we need them to push off the hind end, and that does not work when they're long and low. So in training, as we bring these inverted high-headed horses down, stretching long and low, we eventually got to bring them back up. But as we bring them back up, it's not coming from our hands. We want to bring them into collection. And collection is a high head, but the back needs to be rounded. So basically, we're going to see this lift. And the lift needs to come from back here. So the horse actually gets lower in the hind end. It folds the haunches. So this will have more angle, and it steps more under its belly, which raises the back, raises the shoulders and withers, and raises the head and neck. And the nose should be on or just in front, even better, slightly in front of the vertical. So we don't want to have a nose that's mechanically pulled in by the rider and goes towards the chest. She doesn't even want to do that. It should be just ahead of the vertical. Okay. So that's what we call a collected horse, or a high-headed horse with a rounded back, as opposed to a high-headed horse with a hollow back, which is inverted. So those are the 4 different top lines. And the last one, the collection, is only achieved in nature for brief moments. Let's say a stallion posturing, or a mare getting a little attitude into another mare. You see that collected frame, but they can't hold it for very long. It's very hard work. So when we train, we got to build up to that. It takes a year of good riding to really build the muscles up, because they need core muscles for that too, to carry themselves like that. So it takes good training. So this is a totally level horse. Okay. Now this horse is very slightly inverted, very slightly. But if I have a rider now who tries to pull that horse into collection with the hands, it's not going to work, because look what happens. It's a lot of compression, okay?
Right.
So what I need is 1 degree of below level, and then I can push the horse up from behind, and look what happens now. The horse starts to lift. This is not the best whip, but I think you get the idea. Okay. So we cannot pull the horse into collection, and we definitely cannot get a horse into collection that's slightly inverted. If a horse is very stuck up, what we need to do is we need to bend this horse. Again, bending button. We got to get that horse to relax that top line to the point where it starts to drop down. Okay, a little hard to do with this one. But basically, you have the stuck up horse. I'm going to keep bending and bending until that horse is like almost like a snake through its body, and it wants to come down. It relaxes that spine and opens it up.